Hello, this is Mrs. Mendy, and I'm going to show you how to take averages in a spreadsheet without having to calculate anything on a calculator. You just tell the spreadsheet what to do. And I really like this, and I think it's worthwhile to do it. So I'm just going to show you how to do it. Okay, so here's some data where somebody is trying to see if different flavors of gum affect how big the bubble that you can blow with that kind of gum is. Okay, and you can see here they've made a graph, and the graph is okay. It's got a title, it's got axis labels, and everything is in there. All the data is there. But because the different trials are, some of them are pretty different from each other, so it's a little hard to see like which is the best. Because if it's the grape, because the grape had the highest. So in some situations like this, you may want to take an average and see if that affects what you want to do or how you make your decision on which gum uh, blows the biggest bubbles. Okay, so you could go over here, and here I've made in the data table, I've made a column for average bubble diameter. You could go through and average all these together. If you've got something like 10 trials or 5 trials, it gets sort of more irritating. And I'm going to show you a trick, which I really like. And it's not that hard. And here we go. Here's how you would do it. So in the cell right here, I'm going to double click like you're going to type something. But instead of typing the number, I'm going to put an equal sign. Now, an equals tells the spreadsheet, I want you to do some math. I'm going to give you an equation. Okay, and it already knows some things. Okay, you can see that it says, oh, do you want average? Because I've used that before, so it says that. So, but if it doesn't pop up like that for you, I'm just going to type in average, AVA, like that, average, and then a bunch of things will pop up. These are a bunch of all the different things it can do. And it's saying, do you want the average of cell B2 and cell C2? And I do. Okay. If it doesn't pop up for that, for you, you can just do parentheses and then click and drag over the things you want to be averaged together. And then you hit end the parentheses, and then you have to hit enter. You can't just click someplace else. You have to hit enter. Ta-da. Okay, but then you may be saying, but Mrs. Mendy, I have to do that for all of the other cells too. I have to type in that average. No, you do not. No, you do not, because scientists don't like to do more work than they have to. Okay, so if I click on this again, see how there's a little square in the corner? And my cursor is an arrow, but if I just touch that, if I just touch that square, it goes into like a cross. If it goes to a cross and then I click and drag down, it will automatically calculate that same equation for all the other things. And to double check that it did what you wanted to do, if you click on here and if you double click, so if I click, double click, and then see how it highlights these two cells, because it's saying, yeah, I'm taking the average of these cells that you told me. Okay, if you double click here, it's saying, yep, I'm averaging these two cells together. So that's cool. All right, so then if we wanted to do a graph that was just the average, you can do it a couple of ways. I'm going to show you by shifting the columns around. So if you click on, see where it says D up here, that will say select the whole column. And notice that my little cursor, instead of being an arrow, it turned into a hand. And the hand means you can drag that whole column where you want it to be. Oh, now it changed this graph because it was paying attention to the columns. But since I may not, and so if you didn't want that to happen, I'll undo what I just did. If you didn't want that to happen, what you could do is you could copy this and put it down here and make a different table. You could do that too. And actually, since these are equations, I'm going to do a special kind of paste down here where I'm going to right click and see where it says paste special. So I right clicked, or I think on a Chromebook it's double click. and paste special, and you're going to go to paste values only. So then it will ignore the equation, because what's really in these cells is the equation. So if I put different values in here, or if I move these columns around, it'll give me a different number. Okay, so now I've got still this average and still the same numbers, except now when I click in there, see up here when it tells me what's really in the cell, it's only the number. It's not the equation. See up here, it's the equation. So that means no matter what I do, that number is going to stay there. Okay, so if I click and drag over this, so now I'm just the average, and then if I make my graph by hitting the Insert Chart button, now it's just the average, so average bubble diameter. So these might both be useful. If I were you, I would put both of these into your final presentation. Okay, and you may want to change uh, this title to something a little more compelling than average bubble diameter versus gum brand, although that is what it is, because that's the bubble diameter and here's the gum brand, or it's really gum flavor, but whatever. Okay, now to do a more advanced version, like what if you have um, a different kind of more complex way of getting averages. So like here, if you did this, so here you have a bunch of people and somebody asked, they gave them different flavors of gum and then they did some math tests or something like that, a simple little quiz. Okay. And so then this person wants to know, does the mint or the watermelon gum help more, or does it have any effect at all? Okay. So if you do a graph of this, okay, so like if I do mint flavor and how many questions the person got right and do a graph, this is not at all helpful. Okay, this does not help you understand what is going on at all, because the mint and the watermelon are all mixed up, and then there's all these dots everywhere. You can't really see a pattern at all. But there may be a pattern, but we can't see it because this graph is not appropriate for answering this question. So let's get rid of that. So how you might want to do that is to take an average of all the watermelon answers, how many questions they got right, and all the mint ones. Okay? And you can do that by doing that equation thing again. But since these are all mixed up, it's not going to work very well. Okay? So what you do in that case is you can make the computer sort it. Okay? So if I select all these things and I go to Data, Sort Range. Okay, data sort range, and it has a header row because it's saying like that row has the labels for the columns on there. And so I'm going to want to sort, if I click this, it'll have all the things you can sort by. So I want to sort by gum flavor because I want all those together. And then we just hit sort. Now look. Okay, so now all the mints are together, all the watermelon is together, and now it's easier to do our average equation thing. Okay, so if I want to see how many test questions on average people got correct when they were chewing mint gum, okay, I'm going to do again equals. So we tell the cell, we're going to put an equation in here and then do average. Okay, average parentheses because it's saying average of what? The stuff within the parentheses. So when that's up like that, I'm going to click and drag over the stuff that is for mint. So do, like that. So I clicked all of that and I'm going to close the parentheses. So the parentheses the other way, and then hit enter. Don't forget enter. 1.2. So all of that averaged together is 1.2. You can double check by double click. Click on there and see like it highlights in a little orange line all the things that it's averaging together. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing. Now I can't do the click drag down thing with the square because this is an irregular shaped rectangle. Okay, it's not just doing the same thing in every cell. So what I'm going to do here again is for watermelon, I'm going to go equals average, because see, it's asking, do you want to do that same thing? Well, not exactly, because not C3, not to that level, but I am going to do average. Type in average parentheses, And then I'm going to click and drag around the numbers I want to average together. So click, drag to here, C12 to C18, because that's C12 to C18. There's the 18, and it's in column C. So I'm going to close the parentheses and hit enter. And there we go. Now here's something I should have said that can go wrong. Like if you don't close the parentheses, it's going to be confused. It'll say like, oh no, it likes it. It doesn't care. Oh, well, that's nice. It used to give you an error message for that. So yay, Google. Thank you. Okay, making it life easier for my students, Google. Thank you. Okay, so don't forget the parentheses though, so it knows what you're talking about. And so now if I take this, like click and drag on these data, and then hit the insert chart button, ta-da, now it's got test questions correct on average versus flavor, mint and watermelon. Mint is a tiny bit above, not very much though. So they're not really very different. Okay, so that's how you can do that. You could also, so now that you've got that, you may also want to do this just to compare and see. Because now that it's sorted, no, that still doesn't make any sense. Nope, don't like it. Okay. There you go. So that's what averages are good for. They let you see a pattern when you can't see the pattern with the regular numbers. Okay, and see how similar or how different they are. That's it.